Hey, howdy. My name's Elias, and with me today.
I'm Tiana.
And today, what do we have in store for us?
We're going to be talking about plant-based baking and we're going to debunk it because a lot of people just think it's complicated, doesn't taste good, you can't find it anywhere. And let's just go over how we can use it, how you can make it yourself and why we don't really see it around. Elias,
Fantastic.
yeah. Should we get started here?
I would love to.
Yeah, here we go. I'm clicking on the wrong screen. All right, here we go. Elias, so I know you've done a little bit of research here. Do you want to just explain all of this stuff that we're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. So, coming into this podcast here, I didn't really know much about plant based bakeries, baked goods, or like their accessibility. So, I did a bit of research into them so I wasn't like caught with my pants down in here. And what I found was there were three main reasons as to why you can't really find a lot of plant-based bakeries or bakeries that offer many plant-based alternative baked goods for three reasons. The first of which is that the demand for these alternatives has only drastically increased by over in the past 5 years,
Hmm.
whereas before there was no real demand for it.
Yeah,
But since it's been increasing and each year is getting more and more demanding, a lot of businesses are struggling to keep up with the demand to provide these new alternatives when they haven't had time to really play around with it or work with it before. So a
yeah,
lot of them who are
absolutely.
trying it, they
It's
seem to not have a lot of great experience, so they just give up.
yeah, it's a big trend right now. It's definitely plant-based stuff and vegan stuff is just kind of blowing up. So we'll see what people do in the next couple of years.
Apologies for my background, by the way. My dad is watching a hockey game. You may hear that a couple more times. But yeah, so another thing I found, I don't know if you can have anything to add to this later, but
Mm,
a lot of businesses find it hard to replicate the same quality of flavor in their products without the traditional baking ingredients they're used to, such as eggs, butter, milk, and cream.
mhm. Those are absolutely the first four ingredients or three ingredients that you see on every single recipe from 10 years ago and anything before that. So hopefully we'll see some new ones soon without those.
Yeah, then this one is, I think, to be like the most relevant, especially in my case, because uh, there seems to be a large misconception about retaining traditional texture and flavor without those traditional ingredients that I mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
Me included, I honestly, from my experience with it, at first, it was I couldn't get the same texture and flavor from what I ate, and I just didn't feel like eating more of it. But I've tried some of the things you made, and without knowing they were plant based, I assumed they were regular.
Yeah,
So
honestly, I kind of agree though. There's a lot of things that you can't do the same, like meringues, like nearly impossible unless you use some sort of weird bean juice and stuff like that. But there's definitely quite a few things that people just don't know how to use properly, and it can be done. All right. So, Elias, I'm gonna teach you and whoever's listening what alternatives we have out there and how to use them. So some of the ones I'll go over are eggs, milk, butter, and heavy cream. These are kind of some of the basic things that you can do at home, and just here are things that you can use. So for eggs, you can use either tofu, so just blend up really soft silken tofu, mash up a banana, quarter cup applesauce, and any of these things can just be thrown into your recipe just to completely get rid of that egg and just add one of these things in. Another thing are chia seed and flax eggs. These things are great. These are my favorite ones. Is you just take a tablespoon of chia seeds or flax seeds and you mix it with about 3 tablespoons of water and you let it sit for 5 to 7 minutes and it becomes this gel. Some people call it chia seed pudding and they eat it for breakfast and stuff, but it can be used instead of eggs just because it becomes so goopy and it'll bind together all of your baking because without any of these alternatives and eggs, your baked goods won't have any consistency or structure to them and they'll just fall apart. And so all of these are great for that. Yeah.
can I just quickly ask you
Yes.
what do you mean by chia seed eggs?
Oh, chia seed eggs. Like that's that's creating that pudding mixture from 1 tablespoon of chia seed and 3 tablespoons of water and you mix it together and it becomes kind of egg like.
Oh, okay. I got it.
So
I got it.
people call them chia seed eggs and flaxseed eggs. It's it's kind of a silly term, but once you know, you know.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
All right, let's look at milk. So for milk, I'm sure everyone's heard of oat milk. I'm sure you've heard of almond milk, and all of these things are just fantastic. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. You can just replace your milk with any of these. I'd be careful with some of the thinner ones like almond milk or coconut milk. Soy, oat, and cashew are pretty thick, and they can pretty much get the same consistency as a thicker 2% milk. And same thing with pea milk. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one, Elias, but
I have not. I am very interested in pea milk right now.
so pea milk is made of peas, obviously, but it has a similar kind of chalky texture to the pea protein powders, which is found in a lot of plant-based protein powders. So be careful of that one, but it's still a really good one, and it has a lot of health benefits. Okay, so for butter, you're just replacing the fat, and so a lot of people will go towards replacing butter with a plant-based butter or margarine, which is really effective and has great results. However, that's not always cost effective, and for most people, when they go plant-based, it's also a good way to save money. And so instead of using butter, you can use vegetable oil or olive oil, or you can just throw a mushed banana in there in applesauce or peanut butter or anything like that. And all of these things will just replace the fat in those ingredients in the recipes, and it'll come out with kind of the same results.
So I got a quick question I got to ask you.
Yeah.
If you know the answer to this, I see that mashed banana and applesauce is in butter and eggs.
Yeah. So
Uh,
honestly, they do the same thing in both, but one big thing is I would highlight that you don't want to use the same alternative for butter as you would for eggs. So don't just throw 3 mashed bananas into your recipe and expect it to work out, because you'll just end up with baked banana and flour. So if you're going to throw applesauce in as your butter replacement, maybe use a chia seed egg as your egg replacement to keep that balance.
okay.
Yeah, but they'll do the same thing in both.
Yeah, I was just wondering because like banana is such a powerful flavor
Yeah, I would
that
definitely be
like
careful
yeah.
with, yeah, sorry, banana and olive oil are both kind of one of those things, or even if you were to use peanut butter, you have to be careful when making these swaps, because the flavors might not match up. So if you have something with more of a delicate flavor of like a lemon cookie or something, maybe use a margarine or a vegetable oil because they're pretty neutral.
Okay.
For heavy cream, the best thing is just to use coconut cream, which you can find on the top of a can of coconut milk. And so this is just from a can that's called full fat coconut milk. And when you don't touch them for a while, it separates. And so if you need really thick cream, you're making a really fatty recipe, just use that top layer. But in most cases, you can just mix it up and it'll become the same consistency as like a whole milk or a whipped cream. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Elias, can you walk me through these ones?
Yeah, of course I can. So while I was doing my research, I wanted to see if there are any like big differences between using an alternative compared to the traditional ones. And I found there were quite a few benefits actually from switching over to the alternatives. The first of which is that it lowers your blood pressure. Another, it helps to reduce your overall cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
It decreases the risk of diabetes. It helps to increase your body's overall antioxidants. It increases to your fiber intake, reduces inflammation, as well as lowering the risk of cancer.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I feel like a lot of these things are pretty common benefits from doing a plant-based diet in general. But I feel like
Mhm.
especially the cholesterol and all the ones that have to do with fat intake are really from that reduction of milk and all those hormones and just the pure butter. Do you agree?
Oh, I agree 100%. It wasn't really something I considered actually when looking at the alternatives was did reducing cholesterol and what would happen from reducing these fats, but it 100 makes sense. The one that really surprised me was lowering the risk of cancer.
Yeah. That's,
And I had to do a bit of more research on this because
mm,
every site I looked at didn't really provide a clear answer.
mm,
But what it seems to be is It helps to lower the risk of cancer because it removes all those weird chemicals or like hormones that are given to like cows
Mm-hmm.
and other animals that produce like milk or other help to add to like dairy products
Mm-hmm.
that gets leaked into uh, the milk, which when intaken by humans helps to increase our chances of cancer.
Also, a quiz, an interactive quiz at the end here that you can continue, and anyone listening can complete. You? I
It's
hope.
always fun talking to you as well.
All right.
Have a great day.